Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant podcast. My name is Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. How you doing, mate?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. And today we have Mike with us. Hey, Mike.
Hey, good morning. Nice to
This podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu Casa. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere, your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more, all configurable in the UI with no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESP Home, and other Open Home Foundation projects. Click the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, including our executive producers, Jason and Rob. You can help support the show and get early access to episodes, all in an ad-free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu. And of course, if you can't do that, we'd appreciate a like, comment, subscribe, or a rating wherever you're listening or watching us today. It really helps out the algorithm. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. Whereabouts are you joining us from?
I am in Central Florida, in Orlando.
Nice. So yeah, we were just discussing before we started. No snow issues for you. We're recording basically a couple of days before Christmas here, so yeah, no snow issues for you. So no need for a snowblower. What sort of is your background in home automation? How did you get to using Home Assistant?
Yeah, it started for me. I've always been a nerd and like technology and stuff, and I work somewhat in that adjacent space. And I started with Sonos speakers and things like that, if those count. And then I've since ditched Sonos, but we live in a 50s ranch style mid-century modern house, and we were renovating the kitchen, and the contractor for two LED strips underneath two sets of cabinets wanted like an absorbent amount of money. And I was like, well, I've been curious about getting Hue bulbs. I'm like, let me price out that versus what they're quoting me for these two LED strips, because I'm pretty handy. I was like, I'll just do it myself after you guys leave. And I priced it out, and it was like I could outfit my entire house in Hue bulbs for the price that they wanted for these two LED strips. So I was just like, no, thank you. And so that started me down the path, and
And Philips Hue's not cheap either, so they must be
yeah, and
charging
not at
you.
the time. This was back in 2016, 2017. So I think they've come down in price some since then.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, but yeah, lighting, I think that's the gateway drug for a lot of people, right? Because it's pretty easy to do.
And it's one of the
So
most satisfaction things to automate too, right? Like,
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that still gives me delight. It's just like walking in the room and it just kind of lights before you, and it's nice. And
Yeah.
yeah,
um, yeah, I mentioned you guys before we started. My wife's not a technology fan. Uh, when we met her, the extent of her technology was she had a record player, and she had a 13-inch CRT TV DVD combo with the rabbit
wow.
ears, and that was what she was rocking. And so she would like check out DVDs from the library, and then she saw my house and was just like, "Oh my god, you're a nerd." And so yeah, pretty much. And then so when we moved in together, it's been a nice mix. Like she's gotten me more into the analog
Right.
world, and she's in charge of all the styling and all that stuff. So, and then I kind of sneak the technology in where it's acceptable. It's been
Yeah.
really fun.
Nice. That's good. And what does that look like? I mean, so like where you say like where it's acceptable. So what's too much? What's too little? Or like what's too
Yeah,
far?
and I share her love of aesthetics, and I lean on her for that. She actually went to school for some interior design and stuff, even though it never became her career. And I work in the technology space in the trade show industry. So we provide technology to booths and events and lighting and all that kind of stuff. So I really like hiding wires and making things look seamless. Like I watch people's smart home tours, and I'm never going to trash anybody in particular, but you're just like, oh wow, there's wall warts and cables and wires everywhere, right?
Oh
Um,
my goodness, do not look at my house.
and so the way I actually started to dip my toe in with the Hue bulbs was I did the under cabinet lighting, and as far as she was concerned, it was just under cabinet lighting. And then so slowly, like as she was out of the house, I was like, I'm gonna start swapping out some more bulbs, because they look like regular incandescent bulbs. The switches still work, whatever. So I'm slowly doing this. And the other thing you have to know about us is that she loves to dance, and we do at home dance parties. And so I was like, okay, here's what this is the plan, right? And so
So
I set
fun.
up Hue. I got Hue Disco going. She has no idea that I've changed any light bulbs in the house, right? And this has been going on for several weeks as I've gotten it done. And then so it's like, let's do a dance party, and the lights happen, right? And she's just like, what the heck did you do? Like, what is happening right now? And and so I was like kind of surprised, and she was like, what do I have to do in all of this? And I was like, I don't do anything, like, but you can set up scenes. And then as soon as she discovered like the lighting scenes, I had everything in HomeKit. So it was easy for her to go in and do, not mess with the Hue app and stuff. And then she loves that. So now that's very much her responsibility, is setting all the brightnesses in certain tones. And she's got like, when company comes over, it looks like this. And when, dinner time is this lighting and all that stuff. So that's the extent of her involvement, but she won't invoke them. We have HomePods, and she will. She'll say the name of a scene, but like, if she wants to know what the weather's like, or is it going to rain today, she asks me and I ask Siri, and then it answers. So it's like that. So,
And I think there is something to that. I think like some voice assistants, they do have like a male bias, right? Like for whatever reason, maybe it's the microphones don't pick up a high pitched voice or whatever. But
Yeah.
I myself will find, like my daughter or anyone else in the family, my wife or my mother-in-law trying to talk to the little lady in the box from the Amazon Echo.
Yep.
They just get frustrated with it because it's not responding in the right way.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. My hearing is missing some of that frequency. But yeah, so that was really what got me started. Then I got into HomeKit, and I like the security, the local control, things like that Apple, seems to value. And so I just kind of went down that and trying to get all the HomeKit devices. And then from there, of course, you run into things that don't work, or this kind of device isn't even an option. And so I went down the HomeBridge path for a while, running that locally on a headless 2012 Mac Mini. That was my like Plex server and all that stuff forever. So I was like, this is already here and running. So it was kind of a natural thing. And then you run into limitations with HomeBridge, and like as I'm looking on forums and things online, I saw someone, I thought everything's fine, it's working great. And then I saw a reference, somebody said, yeah, people that use HomeBridge and HomeKit, they should just use Home Assistant, because otherwise you end up with a Rube Goldberg of toggle switches and like virtual switches, right? And I was like, that's exactly what I have going on. They've just described me. And so I looked into Home Assistant, and it was intimidating at first because it was so much YAML, and I didn't know YAML or anything. And then I just kept playing with it and was like, okay, I think I'm going to go all in on this. And so that's what I did, and I love it. And it's the best. So now Home Assistant is the complete back end. I moved everything over to it, got rid of all the hubs I could. I got rid of the Hue hub and all that, and everything's now in CHA.
And so, if those scenes that you were talking about before with Philips Hue, are they now Home Assistant scenes that are activated?
They were HomeKit scenes before,
Okay.
So now they're still just HomeKit scenes. So for her, everything, and that's really if I'm going to interface with a dashboard, I generally use the HomeKit dashboard as well. But for me, if we have to open an app, we've failed. I want it to be a smart home that works for me, and I don't want to have to do any of that stuff. Like I look at the forums and I see all these cool whiz bang, Home Assistant dashboards people make, and they're super cool. And I made my own custom one, but mine's very much a dashboard in the sense of like a car. Like I think it was just idiot lights, right? Like it just tells me statuses of stuff if I just need to open it and glance, or if there's an error and automation didn't run. Or I love that Home Assistant has logs and activities, so you can actually look back and see, why did this happen? I didn't expect that, and get things really dialed in. And so that's the first stop, is everything goes through Home Assistant, and then I share what need be, mostly for my wife, through HomeKit. And all of our cameras are PoE, and they're through scripted and through HomeKit, because we use Apple TVs, so it's nice to be able to have that picture-in-picture that comes up, and that kind of simple interaction and stuff. It's really nice.
That's awesome. It's it sounds like, I mean, as much as your wife didn't want to use technology or isn't interested in it, sounds like she's taking a role in it, which is even with like, color temperatures or color light brightness or those kind of things. So that's a good start. I know in my household that's not the case, and it's like I'll do this, and then I'll get tips on like, okay, maybe you should be a little brighter. Okay, and then I get to do that, right? And it's but it's good. That's you've got acceptance, you've got all of those things too.
No, I say, yeah, that's totally it. And we're a I mentioned before, like we're a really good team as far as that goes because she'll like as she's designing the house, like I want to move this furniture or I want to set this up or that up, and I'm always thinking like, okay, how's that light gonna work, or how am I gonna where am I gonna
Mm.
put a sensor that's gonna be hidden or things like that, and it it helps, right? And as we watch, AD tours and stuff, and I'm like, that's not real. That thing's not even plugged in because where would it be and how could like it's
Yeah.
just so much stuff is staged and isn't really functional, and so many catalogs and things like that, and people don't get it, and so I try and make that a reality with my
Yeah.
skill set and stuff. So it's nice. I was gonna say we opted for bulbs instead of light switches, and everybody loves the Lutron switches and all that stuff, but we
Mm.
like the look of it's a 50s house. We've got the old push button light switches, like it's like a toggle that pushes it out, and they're really cool. And I was like, I don't want to get rid of these, and I don't want to have to use them anyway. So let's keep those. Let's use the lights. If you do need to use them, I do like that you can set, and this is a huge default where you just toggle it off and on again, and it goes full brightness. So if for whatever reason you don't have a phone, you're not in a scene, or something abnormal, you can always still control the light. But I really prefer the bulbs. It's funny. I feel like I'm in the minority as far as that goes.
I guess it depends on the use, right? Like again, for me, yeah, like I like the Lutron, whatever, but I also went from like the ugly flip switches
Yep.
to that, right? So it's like
Yeah.
aesthetically, it's actually a way larger improvement. Whereas in your case, I
Sure.
think I think you've got the 50s. I mean, the house itself, like you said, is
Yep.
kind of a 50s styled, right? Not
Yeah.
styled, but 50s design.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess it makes sense that you also want that. Have you considered like something like relays that are in the wall, like a Shelly
Yep.
or something like that?
I've got a few. Yeah, I used the Shelly for a little while for the bathroom fan.
Yeah.
I've since swapped it out for an Akara T2, I think is what I have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely what I have it there now because it's also a Zigbee repeater, so that helps my mesh. But yeah, I have that automated for the bathroom fan, for the exhaust, and then also there's a HomePod hidden. We have HomePod minis in every room, but they're all out of sight. You don't see them, you just hear them. And our house was built in '53, and we're not like it doesn't look like retro necessarily, but it's got a certain vibe, and so does the neighborhood. And I don't want tube lighting and all this crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I have used a few relays. The bathroom one's fun when there's a humidity sensor in the medicine cabinet hidden, and so when the shower's on for a certain amount of time, it pops the bathroom fan automatically on for you, and it turns up the volume on the HomePod in there because it assumes you're in the shower, so you're not gonna be able to hear the music as well. And then once the humidity sensor goes down, the volume in the HomePod goes back down. We have little nice little creature comforts and things like that. Yeah, and I have a few other places I may use some relays, but
That's cool. How did you find, obviously in an older home like that, how did you find being able to modify stuff or any of that stuff? Because a lot of times I've heard that's been a big challenge, right? Like,
it's interesting, right? And it's no different than anything else. Like I don't know that there's with an old home. I don't know that there's a straight wall in this place, and who knows how many people have worked on it over the years. Like every time you go to open up something, like we do a lot of DIY projects on the house, and it's just like, oh my gosh, why did they do this? And so I'm big about keeping things up to code and like cleaning up a lot of this stuff. But that's also what I like about the house, right? I like the soul of an old home. It's like an old nice pair of jeans, that it's been lived in, it's got scars, it's got some wabi sabi, we really appreciate all of that. So it's good stuff. And like our television, we just have a frame 43-inch television, so we
yeah,
put artwork on it, and thankfully it shares a wall to what's effectively a broom closet, and so all of the hardware and everything's in there. That's basically my home lab is inside that room, so everything's nice and
yeah.
hidden. That's where our fiber comes into the house. That's where I have all my unified gear, and everything is all hidden inside there. And my entire home lab consists of just one M4 Mac Mini. It's gone through a lot of different iterations over the years. Like I started, like I mentioned, with the 2012 Mac Mini, and then I had, when I went all in on Home Assistant, I had it on a Raspberry Pi. I
Yeah.
started with it in Docker just to see, am I going to use this? And then I was
Mm.
like, okay, it's effectively a hub. Let's make it its own device. So I did a Raspberry Pi, and then I moved to the Yellow because I liked the PoE. I liked supporting Nabucasa. I was like, I'm going to buy the thing and do all the stuff. And I had a Sky Connect on it because the internal wasn't working as well. And then as I wanted, I had it on an extension so I could place it differently. And then once I found the SM Lite, I've got the SLZB06, the PoE adapter. That thing
Yeah.
is awesome. Anytime I see people talking about getting their Zigbee dongles to work, I'm like, just get rid of the dongle, man. Like, you got to have the stand. Like, it's so nice. Just
Yeah.
everything reboots so quickly. I'm like I said, I move it from this machine to that machine, redo my virtual machine. I don't have to mess with any port forwarding of USB
Yeah.
ports or anything at all. It just works. It's really nice. And when I made that switch, I actually tried going to Zigbee to MQTT, which I know a lot of people swear by. And so I was like, okay, if I'm moving to a new dongle effectively anyway, let me go ahead and try this. And I didn't find any value in it. It just seemed to overcomplicate things. Now I've got to have an add-on, or I've got to have this Docker container running. And CHA has just been solid for me. Like I know the device support's not supposed to be as good, but for me, I've never had a device that hasn't worked for me. I've got mostly a mix of, I've got the Hue bulbs, and then a lot of Aqara stuff. I've got a lot of their leak sensors, which has saved me several times, unfortunately, but fortunately. And I've got a Zigbee main water shutoff valve. That's just some generic one I bought off Amazon, for years ago, and it's still going rock solid. Um, what else? I've got all the Aqara like door sensors and all that kind of stuff. I got a mix of some third reality since then because I've tried experimenting with some other brands and tried things, a few different temperature sensors. Um, but yeah, it's really good. And the M4, I got the bottom of the line. I bought it used, and it's awesome. It runs. I run Olama on it. I run. All my Docker containers for media acquisition and other little things. It was running Frigate and doing all the AI stuff before I switched over to Protect, and it never hiccups. Like I've got some LLM vision automations going. Looks trash and recycling day the night before. I have it look at this camera. Do you see the trash can there? If so, then announce over the speaker to tell me to take the trash out. I forgot or whatever. But for the most part, I'm good about it, so I never hear that announcement. But I'm using a Home Assistant, the Voice PE for those announcements. I was trying to do it over the HomePods, but if you have music playing, it pauses the music in order to make the announcement. It never resumes it, and I could never get that automation to work really well, especially if you're just playing natively on them. I got it to work in a weird workaround way that I can tell you if you're interested, but it made T-Mobile angry, I guess, and so they banned me from using it. And so then, but it was working great, and so then I was like, I'm going to get the Voice PE and play with it, as an alternative. And then at the end of the day, I end up now just using it for announcements. Phil, to your point about the false announcements or like hearing things of Siri and stuff like that, the Voice PE to me, it thinks I'm talking to it all the time. I've tried switching the different wake commands, and it's always during like a movie or we're watching On Patrol Live or something, because 9 times out of 10 it like goes, oh, it sounds like you're in mental distress right now, and like it like thinks whatever's on the TV is like what's happening, and it'll be some horror movie or something, and it's like, I don't know what database and this is feeding into. It thinks I'm a psycho, but it's fun.
That's
So
interesting.
I have the microphone disabled on it, but it's great for announcements. Like I have the LG washer dryer, and so I made some template sensors and things. And I mentioned earlier, seriously, my hearing's not that great, so I don't always hear the little chime when the washer goes off, or I hate when I hear it and I go down and like, okay, the washer's done, but the dryer's still going, so I can't do anything about this yet anyway, or whatever. So I made it so that it says like, it'll come over and say the washer's done and the dryer has 10 minutes left or whatever. It tells you how much is left on the opposite one, or it'll say it's not running if there's nothing running. So just I like those little creature comfort things.
I know you mentioned before that you've stepped away from Sonos, but Sonos have really good text-to-speech support now. I think there must have been an update in Home Assistant sometime recently, but I was using the voice PA as well, right? Like for my text to speech in the office, and I was like, oh, I'll just chuck it through the Sonos, and now it actually ducks the music in the Sonos. So like, yeah, it doesn't. Previously, it would have to pause, take a snapshot, and then resume where you're playing. But now the announcement just comes over the music, and the music just fades away, and the announcement comes on, and the music keeps playing. So it's
That's
actually
super
really
cool.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's I accomplished that through the HomePods. Like I was saying, basically, I was just leveraging the announcement feature in the HomePods
yeah.
and doing it that way. I had a Home Assistant sending an SMS to the T-Mobile email address, or from the T-Mobile email address maybe, and then
Oh,
I just had like
interesting.
I had a Siri shortcut that
Yeah.
would say whenever you got an email from Home Assistant, and then it just you set the rule based on what the text was, and then it would announce it, and it would duck and play the announcement, and then continue, and then it stopped working, and then I found out that T-Mobile doesn't really like using that old school feature, I guess,
Yeah.
and so they were like, "You're not allowed to send any more emails from your."
So
Thanks.
they fully like stopped you from doing that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
funny.
like my account or something got banned from that or something. I don't know how it worked, but I was like, okay, whatever. And so then I figured out this other workaround. And again, I liked support Nova Casa and buying the thing anyway. And
Hmm.
I'm curious to see how it evolves, and I'm going to continue playing with it. I have a Tempest weather station, so it does, you know, high wind alerts, things like that. Go out and take down the umbrellas outside so they don't blow away, and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
You mentioned before that you're running the M4 Mac. Are you, because I have a spare Mac Mini somewhere, it's a very old one. Are you running Mac OS? Like, does it still boot into Mac OS and then
It is,
into
yeah.
VMware?
Everything is
Yeah.
Mac OS, and it's my all-in-one home lab. So it syncs all my iCloud stuff, my photos, things like that, so that it keeps a local backup, and then I
Nice.
also back that off onto a couple of external NVMEs, and then Home Assistant is running full Home Assistant OS in a VMware Fusion VM, and so that's really
Okay.
easy to back up. It reboots real quick, and I do all of the SMB backups locally to the Mac itself. But because it's a virtual machine, it does it there, and that gets backed up to iCloud, and also I do the Nabokasa backups as well. Um, but yeah, and then I also still have it running Plex natively, scripted natively, and then in Docker I have all lots of different stuff around. Like I run BirdNet Pi, um, identifies all the birds that come around your house via
Yeah.
your camera RTSP feed and stuff, and just all kinds of fun stuff just because it can. And that processor never breaks a sweat. It's so crazy.
And you don't find like it then causes delays in home. This isn't like running all that thing just through one box.
Never. No, no, I
That's
never
great.
have any delays in anything. And it's like I run the iStat menus, and you look at the processor and the memory usage, and it's like nothing. It barely does anything. Even if I'm streaming movies at the same time and it's doing all this stuff, like I've never had it slow down. I've never had a crash. And it's been up and running since the M4s came out. I bought it used like shortly after they came out, and prior to that, the 2012 was running really well as well. I just got to where I wanted to switch everything over to the Apple Silicon, and it's just been like rock solid.
It's funny. I also have a 2012, or maybe it's a 20. Yeah, I think it's a 2012 Mac Mini, and I think at some point it just started getting just grinding to a halt.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I think, and then I had to wipe it, and I think I put like, I don't know, probably Ubuntu or Rocky Linux or something like that on there, right?
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, this is the only way I can keep using this machine, whatever. Now
yeah.
it's just sitting in my basement doing nothing, but it's that's pretty cool that you used your 2012 for that long, because I had a very different experience from that. I wish I had the
Yeah,
same.
I
I
don't know if
love
I'm
that box.
lucky or what. I'm reckless with updates. I do them as soon as they come out. I just did
Yeah, same.
12.4, today. I think it came out or whatever. I was just like, yeah, let's do it. Like I just keep. I just
Yeah,
I have backups, so I'm like I can always restore. But I've even run the Mac OS betas on that thing sometimes, and I've never
that's funny.
never had an issue. I'm just lucky, I guess. and
Yeah.
it's the brains of everything. It kind of like when I had Home Assistant on its own separate box, I understood like it is. I rely on this heavily, so it's important. I don't want it to go down, and and it's still like just the rebooting with anything. It just took forever and stuff. It felt like, and on the virtual machine, it's just so fast. And it got to where I was like, well, my Docker containers are kind of essential as well at this point. Everything else, like, let's just put it all on the one device, and it's easy to back up and deal with. So, and my entire home lab is like less than 200 watts or something, including all the PoE cameras and everything. It's just like sips energy. It's nice. Yeah, it's cool. Because as far as other hubs even plugged into it, because that includes everything, I have it all plugged into an Aqara hub or power plug, so I can see the power monitoring of what the entire lab takes. And so I've got the Tempest weather station there too. It's all plugged into a UPS. That's easy. My home alarm base station's there, and then a bond bridge for ceiling fans. And those are really the only hubs that I have now outside the Zigbee dongle. And everything works. I try and limit Wi-Fi devices and things like that. I've been really trying to get a presence sensor, just to play with. I played with the FP2. I've got what is the new one, the FP300. I think I haven't yet unboxed, but I haven't had much of a need of them. I feel like even motion sensors. I have an Ecobee thermostat, and so we have the little,
The
what are they
presence,
called? The little presence and motion sensor things. It's really for
motion.
temperature.
Yeah.
I have those in every room, and they work surprisingly well for
Yeah.
all my motion and presence. I think some people use um, the Ecobee integration, and I have that because it gives you some stuff that the HomeKit one doesn't. But if you pair it with the HomeKit integration into Home Assistant, it exposes both the presence and the motion. And it's not true presence. I think it's just motion with a longer cooldown period, but it works flawlessly for me. I mean, it just like the lights stay on however long that cooldown period is, like maybe 15 minutes after you leave the room or something, but that's perfectly fine for me, especially because we like the kind of dramatic lighting effects we have going on anyway. Um, and with LED bulbs, it costs nothing to leave them on, but it works really well. So for me, they're small, they're easy to hide, and I also get the benefit of the follow me temperature in the right room and all that stuff that comes with those. So I'd rather do that than get extra sensors. And same with I just like to squeeze the life out of the things that I have rather than just keep throwing money or more sensors and things at the problem. I feel like it just ends up being problematic in the long run.
Yeah. Do you have those mounted, or do you just have those on the little stands that they come with?
I have them mounted. Yeah, I have them all mounted and kind of and as inconspicuous as they can be in some rooms, while still getting the angles and things that you need. But yeah, it works really well.
Nice.
I'm really happy with those.
You mentioned before that you had some leak sensors from Aqara. I've got Aqara leak sensors as well. You've also got the water shutoff valve, I think.
I do.
Can you describe how that works? Have you got an automation in place that can shut off the water if one of those leak sensors goes off?
I do. I have it. It shuts off the water. Well, I have a couple of things that involve the water leak shut off, or the water leak things and the shut off. So with the leak sensors, I have them under the fridge, anywhere there's a sink. It's some of the few technology that's in my wife's dark room. We have a full blown room that's a dark room outside a converted storage room, and it being her kind of analog photography sanctuary, there's nothing smart in there. So I do have leak sensors in there because there's a sink, and so if a leak. Oh, another thing that I did is under the. I don't know if everybody knows this, but under the bathroom sink, it's a pretty large area, and those leak sensors, it may take a lot of water to pool before it would bridge the gap. So I just stripped some copper wire, like RJ45 wire, and you just attach it to those screws, and I just have it run along the whole bottom of there, and it effectively makes the entire thing the leak sensor. So that's helpful. And then when a leak happens, all those sensors are in HomeKit, and it gives you a huge blast in all of your phones everywhere, so you know that it happened. But then I have automation set up so that whatever room has the leak in it, that light turns bright blue. So if I'm sitting on the couch and, oh, there's water somewhere. I know exactly where to go and look in a panic. And then I have a Home Assistant automation that pops up. It says there's been a leak detected. Do you want to turn off the water? Yes or no. And then you basically just do it that way, because I have had, it's just something stupid. The shower curtain was wonky and a false leak, and I don't want somebody to be in the shower and have the water cut off on them unnecessarily. So I just kind of have that as a safeguard. And then I use the iCal. I have the calendar in Home Assistant. So whenever it sees that we're going to be away from home or on vacation or whatever, it just shuts off the water, because there's no need for it to be on while we're not here. So then I never have to worry about it either. I could shut it off remotely if something did happen, but why bother having it on at all? I do that light trick with a few things too. Like if there's, like with my alarm sensors, whenever there's a breach, if you will, like if a window opens, a door opens, something like that, while the alarm's set, the entire house turns red, and then the room with the breach or the opening turns bright. So I know exactly what room something's triggered in. I like using the lights as signifiers and signals and things like that. Like I think a lot of people do this one. Like we have dogs, so I have an Aqara sensor on our gate outside. So if the gate's open, the lights by the back doors turn red, so not to let the dogs out, things like that.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some cool ways you can indicate using that, right? And it sounds like you've got signals. Do you ever find you get them like mixed up, like for like blue? Oh crap! Which one's that? Oh, that's a leak, right? Like,
no, I
or
try
is
to
it
do
that
it pretty
you're
intuitive. Blue is color water kind of, so it's
water?
like blue
Yeah,
is leak, and the alarm is red. The ones by the back doors for the dogs, they actually flash red, so like it more
okay,
draws your eye. You don't just get stuck to it. And then I have, like, if you're cooking in the kitchen, and I have an air quality sensor in there, and so if the air quality gets bad, it just kind of turns like an orange. The under cabinet
yeah,
lights that started it all turn orange. They're still there, still rocking after all these years.
love it.
Yeah, they're good.
Have you thought about like automating the water shut off? I know you mentioned it before, like an automation runs to say, "Hey, do you want me to shut off the water?" Have you thought about like putting an automation to like get you out of that loop and say, "Okay, if it's in the middle of the night, just shut off the water," assuming that the probability is that there's not going to be anyone in the shower, or if you're away from home, just shut it off so that you can get the water shut off as quick as possible in case you're away from your phone or don't see
I
that
like the middle of the
notification.
night one. That's interesting. Yeah, the away from home, it's already shut off, so I
Yep.
wouldn't need that as much as a variable. But yeah, the middle of the night, that's a good variable that I can add for sure. I I like tweaking and optimizing
Yeah.
automations, so thanks for that. Yeah, for
I
sure.
always think like, like in that situation, right? Like if the water is flooding in the house, you want action as quick as possible if it
Oh yeah.
is not supposed to be happening, right?
Yep.
And so as more information that you can take, okay,
Yep.
it's in the middle of the night, chances are we're not in the shower, shut off the water.
Yep.
Or if you're not at home or whatever there is, maybe there could be another way for you to know in the house, like that's not supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, the few times it's gone off, it hasn't been a flood. It's been, a P trap is misaligned, and it's a slow drip that you would never
Yeah.
notice for months, and then you get that wavy under your kitchen sink cabinet
Yeah,
board that everybody has,
mm,
right? And so it's nice to not have that. So that's really good. Trying to think of what other automations and stuff I have. I have a fun one. So like we're talking right now, and it is local time 8:45. Generally, my Roborock would be going right now, but whenever I had used the Home Assistant companion app on my Mac, and so if this microphone is hot, it either doesn't run, and then it waits until I hang up, or if I start a conference call or something like that, and in between it pauses it.
Wow.
So
So
then you
how's
go
it
back.
detecting that the microphone's hot?
Just the Home Assistant companion app. It's one of the
Oh, okay,
sensors that it
cool.
shares.
Yep.
You could say if mic is in use, and so that's just the variable. If the microphone's in use and my location is home, just pause it or don't run it. And I do the same for, I'm in my home office now, and we have a desk light. And whenever the camera's on, it turns it a bright, like fluorescent white to help light
Yep.
me. And then whenever the call ends, it goes back to a nice incandescent like you guys have behind you. So,
Yeah, that's
nice.
fantastic.
yeah, I'm trying to think of what other interesting ones that I have. Oh, the Roborock. So I we like it hidden because I don't want to see a robot vacuum sitting out. So we don't have one with the big dustbin or anything like that by design. It's the one with the small little just docking station, and it's hidden under the couch. And so it runs daily because we have dogs. And then then I have a template sensor that if it's run today and it hasn't been paused or stopped for some other reason, it goes to the trash can and just waits to be emptied, and then we send it back. And that was in the Roborock app. You can do a pin and go to tell it where to go, but I couldn't figure out how to do that in Home Assistant or HomeKit or any place else. And so I was like, how am I going to do this? And so what I figured out is to tell it the trash cans in the kitchen, so tell it to do a room cleaning of the kitchen. And I just timed how long does it take before it's near the trash can. And then so I put a delay and then a pause. And then that's the whole automation, is it just go clean the kitchen, then pause. And then after an hour, if it's sat there, nobody's emptied it, it goes back, just so that if we're away from home and it does that, it doesn't lose its battery or anything while we're gone. And then also if we're home and the calendar shows that it's either a work holiday or a work vacation day or something, it doesn't run, so that it doesn't wake you up or whatever. Same with, we have like morning playlists that goes, things like that, and then while you're getting ready for work, and we don't have that run on holidays and things of that nature.
Now, if you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Zeus have their brand new Z-Wave long-range siren and chime, the ZSE 50800LR. You can trigger audio and visual LED alarms based on smart sensors or other conditions, and the audio speaker plays your own files for personalized automation, or there's a selection in a preloaded library. Zeus are an official Works with Home Assistant partner, helping Nabucasa by providing long-range devices for testing the Home Assistant Connect ZWA2 radio. Zeus offer a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, and scene controllers. Their Zen 78 high power relay allows you to control and monitor higher load appliances up to 40 amps, which is perfect for pool pumps, air compressors, and other high power outlets. So for the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com.
So, I mean, Mike, you were talking about how you're bringing all these things together. You've got your automations and stuff. What's some stuff that you like pretty much absolutely like will not automate? I'd love to know that.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't found a good way to do the doors yet. I haven't found a lock that I like, either a combination of the look and the functionality. I thought I wanted Apple Home Key for a long time, be able to use your watch, your
Yeah.
phone, or whatever. But um, I think Presence may be a little better. That's a little dicey, but I think a fingerprint reader is really the way to go. And I tried the SwitchBot one, that's a retro, because I don't want to rekey the whole home either, ideally. But I haven't gotten. It was so bulky and just kind of janky looking that I was like, nah, I don't want this. So the level lock is maybe a contender, but then it doesn't have the fingerprint option or some other way to make it nice and seamless and still be able to use a key. So we're still analog on all of our locks. As I mentioned, my wife's darkroom is pretty much an automation-free zone. The bedroom is one that I conquered. A lot of people have issues with that. I mentioned trying to get a presence sensor, to know when we're in bed and when we're not. But I've got that dialed in now without the use of an actual presence sensor, using other things, I guess, that we can go into if you want. But it's kind of a mixed match of stuff, going back to my Rube Goldberg machine, I think, of automations. But I tried the FP2. Everybody said that it like would work through walls and stuff, and so I thought, oh, that's nice, I can hide it and still have it work. But I never had success with it actually working through the walls. I don't know if it's because it's old home and they're sheetrock and not just regular drywall. And then I did the ESP32 presence sensors with the Bluetooth tracking, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. This will work, and it did. I got it to work, and the problem is my wife doesn't like technology, so she doesn't carry her phone with her everywhere. It'll just be sitting somewhere,
Sure.
and so then it doesn't know what room she's in. I tracked my Apple Watch, so it was really consistent for me. And so then I ended up going away from that. I tried bed sensors. They were kind of hit or miss for me. So now a lot of different logic things. Is it this time to this time? Are our phones plugged in and charging? And which is another fun one with my wife. I don't, I haven't installed the Home Assistant app on her phone. She doesn't like any like third-party apps at all. So I guess she doesn't want to have to deal with it. And so but HomeKit, you have shortcuts built in. So I just have a Siri shortcut automation for her, so that whenever her phone plugs in, it flips a toggle in Home Assistant so that I know when her phone's charging, that way without the Home Assistant app. So I know our phone's charging between this time and that time. And then we generally like read for an hour before bed, and we use Kobo readers. And so as soon as you open the cover on your Kobo reader, it pings Wi-Fi. And so now I know through the Unify integration that a book has been opened, I guess, and so that I can set reading in bed lighting, shut off the rest of the house, close all the shades, like the shade behind me. We have the Aqara roller shade controllers on all the doors, so those all shut. Things like that. And so then I do kind of a reverse in the morning. Like if I get up out of bed first, when I unplug my phone, it knows that hers is still plugged in. So it knows I have template sensors for Mike's in bed, wife's in bed, and then someone's in bed as one or the other, so that I can do combinations of either or. And so I have that way when I get out of bed, all the motion lights aren't on yet. I have kill switches on those, and only a small reading light on the couch is done, so I can sit there and have my coffee and read in the morning or whatever while she's still sleeping. And then when she gets up, other things start happening. All the lights kind of set, and the shades open to 20% high. So if we let the dogs out, we can see that they're looking to come back in. But if we're in our pajamas, the shades are just open for everybody to see in. All those kind of little creature comforts are really nice, and those are the things that she appreciates. I do have an Aqara button on each of our nightstands, and like a single click is shut everything down, and that also, depending on the time, may set reading in bed. But it's like sets the alarm, closes all the shades, turns off all the lights, all that kind of stuff. She appreciates that. And then in the morning, a double click is the opposite, like kind of we're awake and open up the house and flip back off all the kill switches for interior motion and things like that.
Are you using Bayesian sensors to work out the probability of these things?
Using which sensors?
A Bayesian sensor, like it allows you to do probabilities of, this phone is charging, it's between this time, so that means it's like a 90% probability that they're asleep. So
no, I would like to know more about how to do that. I think I'm doing that, but just through my own combination of like,
there you go. Yeah,
they're all conditions, right? If it's between this time and this time, and if we're home, so that we're on the Unify, and then other things like if it's the weekend, we may have the bedroom TV on. So if that TV's on, that means we're in the bedroom. It's just a whole lot of if-thens. So if there's a better way to do it, I would like to streamline it. But so far, it's flawless. It's working really well.
Well, if it's broke, if it's working, don't fix it. Like, Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the Bayesian sensor's been there since very early days of Home Assistant, and it allows you to really dial in on like probabilities of given all these states, there is a probability that this is true. So turn that sensor, like mark it as on or off. And I do it for things like has the washing machine run today, and is it the door being opened? Then there's probably there's washing outside now. Now I've just automated that with looking at the cameras and AI, right? But there's a whole a bunch of things you can do, right? That generally aren't. Maybe there's a device that's not that you want to track that isn't tracking ability. Like you can do things like has power sensor's gone up to this level. There's presence in this room, so that someone's at the desk, right? Like they're working at on their desk. There's lots of fun things you can do with that sensor.
All right, you give me some homework, something to dig into. Those sensors. I've just gotten into making template sensors. When I found trigger IDs years ago, that was like I did those for everything, probably too much, right? Because I liked having fewer automations and consolidate them all together. So I had like all the interior motion as each was a trigger ID for each room. And then that just got like a bit cumbersome to edit when I needed to. The other thing, I split those out. They still have multiple trigger IDs in each room, but I have each room with its own set of automations for them. Something I think I'm not leveraging enough is scripts, because I feel like I redo the same kind of logic in a lot of different ones. I do the copy paste, but that's why I love the YAML being able to copy and paste automations,
Right.
but then I still favor the UI most of the time for doing all my edits and things.
That's fair. So what's next with your home or
I'll
your
tell
smart home?
you, things I could use help with are the doors. I need to find a good way to lock the doors. I really like to do that because, so often it's one of those things that you're in bed and you go like, did I lock all the doors? And I got to get up and go around. And of course I did, but I've just got to make sure out of,
Got to do what you can.
whatever
Yeah.
OCD or paranoia. And then, and I hate carrying keys. So if I could have one less key to carry, I would really enjoy that.
So you were talking about Apple HomeKey and all of that earlier. So I've just discovered like this is like it's magical, right? Because I have a smart lock, whatever. I don't love it. It sucks, but again, multitude of reasons, mostly because my door sucks. I'm kind of stuck to a couple of ones that I can use. But that also means I don't have any like great options for HomeKey or anything like that. But at my office, when I started this new company, they basically said, "Hey, you can have an app, whatever." And obviously we have like manual old school badges, right? Like the HID or whatever badges, like the NFC ones. But now I can use my Apple Watch. So now I walk up to the thing and I tap it and the door opens and I was like, wow, is this what I've been missing out on? This is amazing, right? And
Yeah.
it's in your like Apple Wallet or whatever. It's essentially HomeKey, but
Yep.
for work spaces, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
this is amazing. So I really like the ability to do that. I mean, I'm for the most part I do use my touchpad at my house, but yeah, it's the problem I guess you have is you're trying to maintain that aesthetic
Yeah.
of like a mid-century modern kind of look, right?
Yep.
Which again I think is really really beautiful, and I think that's I would absolutely do the same. But there's some ones that you get that go like inside the lock and those kind of things. Those are hella expensive though,
Yep.
right? And it's like, so, well, what do you do in that? Or do you say, okay, the front looks the same, and then on the inside of the door, that's the part you modify, right?
Yep.
If you're okay with that. But even
Yeah,
then,
that's what I tried with the SwitchBot, and I would have been okay with the aesthetics of it. I could have lived with it, but it would kept like jamming a lot, and like it would go out of calibration, and it was just like this is not worth the hassle because it's like and then when it would jam, it would just automatically lock even if I had it unlocked. So then it's like so now I'm getting locked out of the house, and if I didn't have a way to get back in, it just seemed annoying. And I've got to think too of my wife, like she'll leave the house without her phone, without her watch, so she's always going to bring her keys. So I still want to be able to use a key. So that's why I do like things like the level lock, so that they use your existing stuff still, and it keeps the aesthetic. So I like that functionality. I just haven't cracked that yet.
yeah. And I will say, like, the new key locks are probably the ones that I like really like. I they look really nice, and we had new keys founder on the podcast at some point as well, and I think they look really nice. However, I don't think they're like MCM, like aesthetic, right? Mid-century modern aesthetic. They're a
Yeah.
lot more modern,
Again,
but
to your point, it's on the inside. It kind of looks like a big doorknob or something on the
Yeah.
inside almost. Then you can, and it would be okay. I would consider them for sure. I'm waiting for a black one to try because all of our hardware is oil rub bronze or black or whatever, and that the silver is not going to work. So as soon as they come out with a black one, I'll
yeah,
probably get one to play
yeah,
around with and see how it's going to work. But as far as a place where something else that automation would be off limits, I'm trying to think to answer your question fully, and I can't think of one that would be off limits for sure. I
yeah,
like
yeah,
the idea of, like I said, the house working for you, just going through things do as you would expect them to. And the nice thing is that it's just my wife and I. So it's easier. There's way less variables, right? I get if you have kids or you have other people in the house or, all that kind of stuff, it's probably harder, but
for sure.
we like routine. So it's been really fun, a challenge to try and hide this stuff and get it and make it so, my wife's happy with it and everything else. So it's been,
Right.
I like the challenge of it. It's a fun puzzle. That's why I say, like Phil, when you said, don't fix it if it's, or don't break it if it's working. It's like, yeah, but if I could optimize, it's an excuse to tinker, right? And which can get you in trouble. But have you guys used the Home Assistant Time Machine yet? I just learned of this. It's super cool. It's kind of a backup alternative that somebody made. I wish I could give the guy credit. It's on GitHub and stuff, but it's an add-on, I think, not an integration. I'd have to look, but
It's like a
it
hacks in the hack store.
No, I haven't.
I think it's, let me pull up I think it's an add-on, and yeah, it's called the Home Assistant Time Machine, and it is awesome. It stores copies of all of your YAML, your automations, your dashboards, things like that, and you can go to them individually, and it shows you. So if you edit an automation, it'll show you, here's what you edited, here's the old, and here's the new, and you can just restore it, just that YAML with the click of a button, and you can have it saved to an SMB and stuff. It's like, it seems like it's pretty new, but the guy's developing it really quickly, and it works great. So it's really cool to track changes and things like that right inside Home Assistant. That's cool.
Yeah, because the last thing I want to do is like
That's nice.
edit a random card in the dashboard and then be like, oh, you know what? I've broken that. I want to undo that, and then my history's gone. Right.
Yep.
And I have to
Yeah, it's
restore
really
the whole
cool,
backup.
and it's
Yeah.
just like the Home Assistant backup. You can say how many versions back do you want to have, and it
Yeah.
merges them, all that stuff. That's really cool.
Does it integrate into the Home Assistant backup piece as well? Where
It doesn't. I think
Okay.
it should be part of the built-in backup, I think, but they're
yeah.
still good. I used to have automation set to like purge old ones and all that stuff. So I've really been happy with the functionality they've added to the backup recently. That's
Sweet.
good.
Okay.
The other thing that I want to get working is the artwork on the Samsung frame. Like my HomeBridge plugin was solid. It always just worked. Like as soon as you turn off the Apple TV, artwork would just come up. It was perfect. And I've never been able to get any of the Home Assistant ones to work as reliably.
Do you mean to like to change the artwork, or just to put it in frame, like art
just to
mode,
put it
or
in
whatever they
frame
call it?
art mode? Yeah, like whenever you use the Apple TV remote, because I like to just have one remote,
Yeah.
and we only use the Apple TV as an interface. So when you power it off or put it to sleep, it turns the TV off, and now it just turns the TV off. The older, we have two frames. We have the older original version that I think is a 2017 model or something, and you can turn off CEC and ARC in both it and the Apple TV, and then it does default to art mode. But the newer frames don't, and it seems like nobody. I don't know if Samsung changed the API or what, but I can't figure out how to get it to where when I make the Apple TV off, art just happens. I have to always use that Samsung remote.
Yeah, so with some of the plugins, there's actually like a change to I think, I don't know if I still have my Samsung frame in Home Assistant. We still use it. I've ranted about this before, but I'm not a fan. I just found the quality of the TV itself wasn't where I wanted it to be. But with the art mode, that was a problem for a very long time, because it was all the plugins basically say off or on.
Yep.
And art is this like weird in between state where it's not quite a source. Like you're not saying HDMI2. And it's not similar to that, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
So usually when you hit off, there's something. But a couple of the plugins, I want to say it was like Samsung Smart or something like that.
Samsung TV Smart is the one that I've found
so.
that you can invoke art mode. It'll change the power toggle, but then it's only if you power it off with Home Assistant. It's
through
not
Home Assistant.
Yeah, and then and I've tried like, okay, if I turn off the Apple TV, if the TV's off in Home Assistant, turn it back on and then turn it back off. But it's so kludgy and it's unreliable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I find with the other thing you could do is you could use instead of using the Apple TV remote, you use the Samsung remote and operate the Apple TV through there, which is what I have going on, right? So when I press the power on the Samsung button, it will go to frame mode or frame whatever.
That's what I've tried that, and that I just don't like that remote at all, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So
I hate it.
I've seen the Sofa Baton 2 or whatever's out now, and it's like maybe that thing, but it's such an expensive fix to a dumb problem that I'm like, no, I'll push the arc button on the Samsung remote. 'Cause if that's my only use case
Yeah.
for it, you know, it's hard to say. And then the other thing I really want to do, and I've tried a few times, and I probably could sort it out, but is our swimming pool has like a fountain feature, like some jets, right? And it didn't we didn't get the the one that you can automate, I guess, right? It's like it's a manual. I have to go over and crank a valve to turn it on, and it's not a full 45-degree turn, and it's a variable speed pump, so it depends how far you turn it, depends on where the pump's at that time, as far as how strong this fountain's going to spray. And so I thought it'd be nice to have basically like a water shutoff valve, but one that all of the water shutoff valves that I've found just do a full turn. You can't say only turn 10 degrees, 15 degrees. And so I've been trying to sort that out with one of those, but I could never get that to work.
I feel like that's like a stepper motor or like a motor kind of deal, right? Where you can get a little more granular rather than to cut off.
Yep.
But I have no idea how that stuff works. It's
yeah, I was just trying to do it with physical changes, because most of the shutoff valves, it's just 2 pins, you know, that grab the lever. And so I was just playing with how far apart those pins are, right? Like I was making my own like attachments so that it would do a little less, a little more. But I could never get it reliable enough, I think.
Yeah.
So I would like to get that, and I'm very curious to get whole home power monitoring would be nice. And I've looked at those, like the Empora, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but the Shellys that go in the power box. We have our main power box and then 3 sub boxes, so it's just a lot of them and a lot of little things. And so I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna. And we only have 200 amps coming into the house. It's just they're all over old house, right? And so it's another one of those things that's charming, that you go like, oh, this breaker controls something on the other side of the world. Okay, I don't know why. But
I was gonna say, I actually like the fact that you have like kind of localized sub panels, but if it's messy like that would drive me up the wall.
Yeah. And there's some, it's just like I can't. No breaker controls this outlet. Oh, I just have to go out and do the main, and it turns off that outlet. I have no idea why. And it's like it's got to be one of them somewhere, but it's that's a whole project one day, is just tracing all of those things. Yeah. And you, to your going back to your question earlier about retrofitting things in this house, it's what's been really nice and forgiving about it is we have a crawl space. We're in Florida, we don't have basements, so everything's a little raised, and so I can crawl under there and run cables and do different things, like on my RJ45, like I was able to run easily for all my PoE cameras and all that different kind of stuff. So that's been helpful. Flat roof, so we don't have an attic, so everything is underneath. So you're in a 3-foot space belly crawling around, but you can get it done.
If you do that, do you have to worry about, like, this might be a really stupid question, but do you have to worry about like mice or any of that, like that kind of like chewing through the cables, or
yes, you do. And so most of them, there's a mesh and stuff. There's only a few like vents, and there's one access point to it, but you do have to concern yourself with that. I used at first for my PoE stuff, I used flat RJ45 cables because they were easy to get through a really thin hole and stuff. And then my cameras were out one day, and they had been chewed through. So then I went to like outside grade, like this really thick, like burial approved RJ45, and it's been fine ever since. But that's the only problem we ever had. Other than that, I've had more problems with squirrels getting my soffit than I have anything going under the house. So.
That's fair. Yeah, because it's, again, I was like, I don't know if it's like technically part of inside or if it's just like fenced off and it's outside, what kind of thing. Because you could also, I guess, use like conduit if you really cared, right? Like,
I have a lot of stuff in conduit under there just for my own purposes. Yeah, it's just easier if I need to change out a cable, it's just super easy just to tie to one end and pull it back through. So, without having to climb under the house again.
Yeah, but it's nice though that you have access to that, right? You just climb under the house and just poke a hole from underneath wherever you want to go, and boom, here you go, right? You got this thing connected.
Yeah, it's handy. Neat. And then the other thing that I want, it's funny because we pride ourselves on it like not looking like a smart home, right? And you just move through it, and things happen, and
Mhm.
all of your automations happen as you go through the world, not having to interact with the house. It's working for you. But then I was on a call with a coworker, and my boss actually on a video call. He's like, "Hey, you're at home. Like, make your smart home do something for me." And I was kind of like, I don't really have anything to show off for you. Like, what do I tell it to do?
Yeah.
And so I just said like I pointed my phone at a shade and just like told Siri to close the shade, and he thought it was cool, but I'm like, that's not cool. And so when I heard Network Chuck on your show, and he was talking about his Halloween setup with a thunderstorm and stuff, so now I've done
Mm.
that,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I need a party trick, and I
that's
need a
funny.
party trick for the house, and so that's what I'm working on now is a thunderstorm with
That's
the
awesome.
shades are going to close, and the
I,
sound moves throughout the home pods, and the lights flash lightning and stuff.
I feel like that's the equivalent of like, hey, like, you've got a kid and your kid's in, like, I don't know, gymnastics or something, and you're like, okay, little Timmy, go do a trick, right? And you're like, it's like, what do you want me to do?
Totally. It's for me, it's as an aging former and still current skateboarder kid. It's the, hey, do a flip trick or do a kick flip.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to
Yeah.
see you do a
Yeah.
kick flip.
that's funny. It's
Cool.
funny.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We really
Of
appreciate
course.
it. I will track down that Home Assistant time machine and leave links in the show notes.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Yep.
So thank you for putting us onto that too.
Of course. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thank you
much. I
so much.
appreciate being on, and you gave me some homework with this new helper.
Hey, yeah, Bayesian
So
sensors, get on it.
sensors,
I'll
I'm
be
gonna
just to
have
see
to.
what you come up with. You can do some crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
I got a feeling there's
Yeah.
gonna be some stuff with that. It's fun.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks.